Okay, in this video, I'm going to be going over some more recent news that has come out in the UFC world. We have Merab with a toe injury for his upcoming fight against Sean O'Malley, which comes with certain implications, I would say, as to how their match will go and potentially a difference in outcome in this rematch. I am going to predict a Sean O'Malley win, I think. As of right now, I think that's what I'm going to do. And this will help me as to my reasoning. But we'll get into that. We'll get into Shavkat versus Belal Muhammad being hinted at. We'll get into Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez 2 being hinted at, which is stupid as shit. And we'll get into Evloev fighting Aaron Pico in Pico's debut, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But we'll start with this. So Merab has a toe injury, which is very sad for him. His pinky toe is fucked up from a head kick, I guess. So that's not good. He has a broken toe. We've seen how that's damaged people or hurt people's performances in the past with Pereira, or I think even O'Malley got a fucking toe break or whatever. There's been pullouts due to broken toes, like McGregor. I doubt Merab is going to pull out. This is basically some random injury. It's probably not going to have a crazy effect on the fight. I just wanted to make an excuse to talk about the fight because I think Sean O'Malley is going to have a real shot here in this rematch. I think fighting Sean for a long period of time when he's a finisher as efficient as he is very dangerous for someone like Merab, who is sloppy, who takes chances in risky situations, going for takedowns and such. I think, especially with this injury now, and probably a little bit more injuries to come, Merab is very, very active. I think injuries in general is going to become a part of Merab's career going forward, a big negative impact in his career. To have the cardio he has, if he's not enhanced, which I'm assuming he's not based on the rules, is going to come with a wear and tear on your body. And for Merab, he works like no other fucking person on the planet to do the cardio feats he does. So, I think injuries will come, and it's going to be more than a broken toe, I think. As for Sean O'Malley, coming off of surgery, which is important to think about, but is it going to improve or hinder his game? We will see. I think it's going to improve it. If he was working with very low hip mobility in his first, a majority of his career, and he was still getting pretty insane finishes and finishing Aljo and such, I think that's going to really help him into this matchup where grappling is going to be a key thing. Your hips really fucking matter. Dustin Poirier has a fucking implant in his hip. He was still able to stuff takedowns from Islam Makhachev, but he might have won that fight if his hips were intact. So, that doesn't really have much correlation with the Sean O'Malley fight. But I do think Sean's going to have a lot better of a chance in this fight. And I think he's going to be maybe he'll be more cautious. But if I'm Sean, I'm being less. I'm trying to put my fucking hands on Merab early. And I'm working on grappling the whole camp. And I think if anybody's going to improve in their game, I think it's going to be Sean O'Malley. And I think if anybody is going to get injured more often in their career, excluding this is just a broken toe. But I think it's a hint of what's to come in Merab's career going forward. And I'm going to predict a slew of injuries for Merab going forward. And I think it's going to be a pretty brief title reign for Merab Dvalishvili. Sadly for him, I do want Sean O'Malley to win, but I'm not being biased, I promise. Next, Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov being in the works. This is a great number one contender fight. Number one contender, I guess. It's not the fight I would have done for Shavkat Rakhmonov personally. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to put him against Belal Muhammad, but it kind of does, because who do you give Belal at this point? And Shavkat is right there for a belt, and if he beats Belal, that's a title shot for him. And there's Joaquin Buckley coming up, who I'm guessing they want to put against Ian Gary after he beats Usman, which I think he's going to beat Usman. There's a Sean Brady, who I would have done against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I would have just did Sean Brady versus Rakhmonov. But they really want Belal Muhammad in the mix still, which I don't really get at all. It doesn't really make much sense. What do we do with Sean Brady unless we just give him a title shot right after the Islam Jack fight? Which could be the case. I don't see it. We do an Ian Gary versus Sean Brady, but then where do you put Joaquin Buckley? It's hard to say. This isn't what I would have done for me. I probably would have done Belal versus Leon too and just had that happen, and nobody would give a fuck and nobody would really care because there's a bunch of fresh contenders that actually matter going up. Or I would have done Usman versus Belal even coming off a loss, even Usman coming off a loss, that actually has some hype to it. And we don't want Belal Muhammad anywhere near a belt. At least I don't. And we could have all these cool contenders like Rachmanov, like Joaquin Buckley. You hater, like you love to hate Ian Gary, so he's automatically going to be interesting anyway. Sean Brady's boring, but he's very like dominant. We have a bunch of cool contenders coming up, all that are going to try to take the crown from either an Islam or a Jack Della Maddalena. Huge fights. And we have Belal facing against Shavkat for a possible number one contender match. It doesn't make much sense. Especially if Islam happens to win and Belal happens to win, we're stuck at square one. It's not what I would have done, but as for the matchup in general, I think Shavkat's going to win. Belal Muhammad's pressure is dangerous, but Shavkat will bite down and throw. He doesn't have a slouch. He's not a slouch in the grappling department at all. He doesn't have the hands of a Jack Della Maddalena, I would say, Shavkat. But I think he has a better grappling offense. This is going to be tricky for Rachmanov. I'm not going to lie. Belal Muhammad did show that he has a pressure game in the Jack fight. And if Jack didn't have as good as like slick striking as he does, he might have broke. But I just know how good Jack is. Rachmanov's a little bit more sloppy. But I do think Rachmanov's grappling is a little bit more fine-tuned and offensive heavy than Jack Della Maddalena's. So, with that being said, this is very tricky. But I'm going to go with Rachmanov. I think all the momentum is on his side. He's won every single fight he's in. The injury does matter for him. But Muhammad just got his ass beat. I don't like that. He's been in close decisions his whole fucking career. I think this is another guy that's going to be a little bit out of his league, and that's going to beat him. Belal Muhammad's beat a lot of people. I don't think he's beat a lot of people like Shavkat, like Jack, like a Buckley, I guess he beat Sean Brady. That's a pretty good fucking win in hindsight. I think Ian Gary would beat him. I think these up-and-comers will beat him. That is a really good win, though. His win over Sean Brady is aging really well. Sean Brady's retarded on the feet. So we'll see. But I am going to lean Shavkat right now. I think he has a little bit more finishing potential. Oh, a ton more finishing potential. But I feel like his tools are even a little bit sharper than Belal's at this point. Belal's getting older, coming off a loss. I'm going to go with Shavkat Rachmanov. Next. So this is being hinted at. Not Diego Lopez, what am I talking about? Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez 2. That doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? So Yair Rodriguez is coming off of one win against a fighter that hasn't even been in the UFC. He made his debut against Yair Rodriguez. He beat him by decision, and now he's getting a title shot against Volkanovski, who already beat his fucking ass. If this was Diego Lopez at champ right now, I'd understand it a little bit more. Not really, because we have a clear-cut contender in Evloev. But this is what we're deciding to do. It doesn't really make any sense at all to me why Yair Rodriguez will earn a title shot after coming off of a loss to Volkanovski and then losing again to Brian Ortega, two contenders that are above him in the rankings. And now he beats fucking Pitbull, and now he gets a title shot. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Pitbull obviously is out of his prime. He's obviously not UFC top level caliber at this point in his career. Volkanovski finished him in the third round. This fight should not be happening. It makes no sense, especially because we have a clear-cut contender in Movsar Evloev who deserves it. He's a boring fucking decision merchant freak, but he deserves the title shot over Yair Rodriguez, and it's a more interesting style matchup. We've already seen this fight. Nobody gives a fucking shit about this fight. Nobody cares at all. Not a single person cares. Not even Mexican fans care, I would doubt. I mean, they will care. But that's the only reason they're really doing this, is for a Mexican audience, because they're going to Guadalajara or whatever. They're doing a Mexican pay-per-view, so they're having a Mexican on the main event, which I understand the marketing. But why even go to Mexico if there's no Mexican stars? Like, Yair Rodriguez is the closest thing you have. He fucking is lame as shit. The one thing we could have had that was cool was Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez because they have beef. That was the matchup to make. But Yair Rodriguez decided he needed a title shot, and the UFC just gave it to him because he's so cool and a huge star. I don't understand. Yair Rodriguez, he's flashy. He's not shown dominance in his career. He hasn't shown that he's earned this title shot even by any means. He's not even, I wouldn't even say he's a number 2 or 3 contender at this point. It doesn't really make much sense to give him a title shot, and it's really annoying, especially because of who they've stuck Movzar with. By the way, I think Volk's going to fucking win again. It is a little bit weird with the age, I will say. But I think Volkanovski is going to be able to pull this off against Yair Rodriguez again. He did it once. He'll do it again. Yair is dangerous on the feet, but Volkanovski did not look far off from his prime in his last fight against Diego Lopez. He's a way more dangerous fighter than Yair Rodriguez at any point in anyone's career. So I'm going to go with Volkanovski to win again, probably similarly than he did in the first fight. I expect him to grapple heavy again. I expect him to grapple heavy a bit earlier and a bit heavier, to be honest. I think Yair Rodriguez is a weak fucking... He's a weak man. I think Volkanovski is a very strong man, and he's going to take him down and beat his ass. It'll be a TKO finish on the ground, or it'll be decision. Mostly ground and pound from Volkanovski is my guess. I don't know if he'll get a finish again, because it was a little bit fluky. But he'll win by decision. Yair Rodriguez has broken too many times. The Brian Ortega fucking loss is the most embarrassing thing ever. But we now get to Evloev's matchup, which is against Aaron Pico, a fighter making their debut. Coming from Bellator and the PFL, a very good fighter with a ton of finishes and a ton of excitement over in that promotion. Does not deserve a number 1 contenders fight against Evloev, who is the one person that we can have on a win streak that deserves a title. He's the only one that has proved to be a little bit dominant. At least decisions are wins. Multiple of them. He has them. He's gotten it. He's earned it. He needs to fight Volk in a 6-style matchup where we get to see how Volkanovski compares to one of these power wrestling freaks from Russia. It makes the most sense in the world. And you could do it on an undercard of Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam and make a 6 storyline. But instead, we have Aaron Pico injecting himself into the mix. After Patricio Pitbull failed, now they're just inserting Aaron Pico and hoping he can do the same, I guess, to liven the featherweight division. It doesn't make much sense, and I'm picking Evloev to win. I don't trust outside UFC comp coming into the UFC against top contenders in their debut. I don't trust it. It doesn't make any sense from however you look at it. It doesn't make any sense at all. He hasn't earned his way in the UFC. He's earned his way in Bellator, but in impressive fashion, and he is very good. And he's not as old as Patricio, I don't think. I think he's a little bit more in his prime, but that's not... You're talking about Evloev, who has been here, done that, against a lot of people. He's fought a lot of fucking people to get to where he's at because he's so fucking boring, but he's winning. He's coming off a win against Aljamain Sterling. That's a fucking crazy win to win in grappling exchanges. He arguably lost, but that's neither here nor there. He arguably won. So, how can we put him against Pico at this point? I'm going to go on Movzar to win. I think you can't trust outside UFC comp coming in. I wouldn't have trusted Michael Chandler at the time, or I didn't trust Michael Chandler at the time. He got it done against Dan Hooker. He hasn't got it done since against someone good yet. Pitbull got shit on. Pico is not going to get past Evloev, I don't think. He could finish him. I really doubt it. He's been against people that are good finishers, that are UFC level, and that we've seen it. Arnold Allen, Aljamain even. It doesn't make sense. And Pico's going to get decisioned. I don't think Evloev finishes him. I don't think Evloev finishes anybody in his entire career going forward. But Pico's not going to decision him. He maybe could on the feet. I just can't trust in it. I can't do it. You have to earn your way to these top contenders. You have to. through UFC competition. And Aaron has not done that. So I'm going to go with Evloev to win. Stupidest matchup ever. The fact that we're having this song and dance at featherweight doesn't make any sense. And it ruins everything. And the UFC sucks. And I hate it. And I think that's about it. I will see you soon.